Did Drake just battle Kendrick Lamar, or did Jimmy Brooks battle Kendrick Lamar? I was recently going through some of the diss tracks that Drake sent towards Kendrick, and they sounded very jovial. They sounded very youthful, pipsqueak, pipe down, very high schoolish. And then it started to make sense. As a person who grew up watching Degrassi, don't knock it till you try it. It's a good show. Aubrey Graham, aka Drake, is still stuck within the Jimmy Brooks character. Drake is still Jimmy. Let's get off into it. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy ReedMySole, and I'm back with another video for you. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's being blessed. Yes, if you're watching this, you're on the right side of history. Get up, go make it an amazing day. And my favorite saying of 2024 is, I'm not here to be right, I'm just here to be me. And if you are looking for the right opinion, I don't know where you can find that, but if you're looking for my opinion, you are in the right place. So let's get off into it, man. There have been a lot of deep dives into the artists that we know as Aubrey Graham, aka Drake. And as a person that grew up watching Degrassi, like I said in the intro, don't knock it till you try it. You make me do this. I haven't seen one that linked the character of Jimmy Brooks to the character that is Drake. But let's start with my experience with Degrassi. When I started watching Degrassi, I was in a very tough time in my life. My mother had got married to an individual, and she was going to move us out of New York City into a house into Baltimore, Maryland. Now, I didn't know that Baltimore, Maryland was pretty terrible, and I'm pretty sure my mother didn't know. She was just looking for help. She was a single mom, had me and my brother, and she was looking to, you know, get us out of the city, get us into something better, at least what she thought was better. It didn't really work out, so it failed. Because it failed, my mother came back to the city. We came back to the city. My mother didn't have a job. We really didn't have a place to stay. We gave up everything. We had a hard time, so we jumped back forth place to place, and then we decided to go into the shelter so we can actually get us a place so we can stop jumping back and forth from place to place. And during that time, I would go to my godparents' house, and I would go over to my cousin's house, and we would watch Degrassi. Now, Degrassi was a really good tween drama show. I didn't know it was in Canada. I didn't know Drake was Jewish and Canadian. I actually gravitated towards Drake because he was the only black male character on the show. He played basketball and he liked to rap. Sounded good to me. So I watched Drake. I watched Drake before he became Drake, and he was only known as Jimmy in the wheelchair. And if you know anything about being a child actor, a lot of child actors, Orlando Brown, Raven, Amanda Bynes, a lot of child actors, they go through a lot of trauma. As we are just now seeing a lot of documentaries like what happened with Nickelodeon in the 90s with Dan Schneider, we see that a lot of people think being a child actor can be very dangerous. There's never been anything to come out about anything traumatic happening to Drake during Degrassi, but I know it must have been difficult for him. An identity crisis just makes so much sense. Now, when Drake was on Degrassi started around 2001, so Drake was in between the ages 14, 15, and 16. Now, if you know anything about those ages, you're just now starting high school, you're really hitting puberty, things are really starting to change for you. You might be out there doing something a little bit more with girls. It's a hard time. Me personally, watching Degrassi, I remember it so vividly because I was going through a traumatic experience on top of trying to find myself. So imagine a 14, 15-year-old Jewish, Canadian, biracial child actor trying to find himself at 14, 15 when he's now taking on a Jimmy Brooks character. You're trying to figure out who you are and where you fit in this world. Now you have to take on a whole nother persona. The reason why I bring this up is because Terrence Howard has a clip of him in Oxford. And no, not the clip when he starts talking about,
you guys believe in straight lines?
Not that. Before that, he actually dropped this gem.
A lot of actors end up with personality, identity crisis and conflicts. You have so many characters you're playing. And if you really commit to the character, you become like a piece of clothing. And the character has a tendency of wanting to own you.
If you are an actor and you want to do your job well, the character lives within you. Like Terrence Howard says, you as an actor, you take all these characters on, and if you let them, that character will take over you because they want to get out. We know this to be the truth. At least that's the theory. It happened to Heath Ledger with the Joker. They say that the Joker character consumed him and he couldn't get out of it.
What you saw in Anthony Hopkins and Hannibal Lecter, that monster lives in him. That's why we believed it.
Jamie Foxx Ray and Heath Ledger, the Joker. Those are the two best acting performances I personally have ever seen. Jamie Foxx embodied the role so much so that he started to do songs with Kanye West, and he was raised outside of the television show. You know what I'm saying? Outside of the TV.
This is a trifling friend indeed.
I think the Jimmy Brooks character is still stuck within Drake. I don't think he can get out of it. Taking on such a tough role as an adolescent, you are a biracial Jewish Canadian kid in Canada, and now you're in a wheelchair, and your hoop dreams are deflated.
My basketball career, my whole future, it's gone.
But just think about all of that puberty, all of that trying to find yourself, and you have to be this child actor, and your family may be relying on you for money. You don't really know where you fit in. There's been plenty of videos of Drake talking about the slang in Toronto.
Say mans like you. Yeah, so mans like you are going to that, and then this means like the group.
Crew.
That's interesting.
It's not. It's really ignorant.
And how it's immature and foolish because he's basically code switching like we all do. We all code switch.
Maybe on Planet Ebonics, but where I come from, we like to pronounce our E's and our R's.
Black folks, we gotta have a conversation about code switching. We all do it. But imagine being Drake trying to code switch and navigate this world that is just biracial, black and white, Jewish, Canadian kid, child actor. That is a lot to be dealing with at the tender age of 14, 15. I think the trauma that happened to Drake when he was young was not ever being able to find himself, not ever being able to put the Jimmy Brooks character down and pick Aubrey Graham up. And I think what he did was he created another persona called Drake.
It's really got me out here rapping what I'm living. I might take it latest girl and cuff her like I'm Ricky.
And isn't it a little funny that Drake wanted to be a rapper on the show? So much so that Drake would actually had a hard time on set because he would stay up all night making music. At least that's what they say. So for me, I was listening to Push Up and it's like,
How the fuck you big stepping with a size 7 man's on?
it's like, well, he can't really do much about his size. You got a fake BBL. Like, God gave him his shoe size. You went to the surgeon to get your abs. Anything I say goes over Kendrick's head.
He always said I overlooked him. I was staring straight.
It's like a lot of just short jokes and a lot of like gossip tea. Like, oh wait, I get it. And it's just like, none of it hit to me. It just felt like a high schooler, yo mama jokes in the back of the lunchroom, just a bully just trying to make fun of a short kid.
These bars go over Kenny head no matter what I say.
Comes to getting girls, this man's has no taste. Your breath stank. Here's some goddamn toothpaste.
And as I started to reflect upon it, I said, oh dang, Drake is still Jimmy.
A rich nigga, po nigga, house nigga, field nigga.
Still Jimmy. And if you watch the show, a lot of things that happen to Jimmy Brooks correlate to Drake's life. Drake didn't really have his dad in his life. He was doing this, he was doing that. He was in Canada. His dad was in Memphis. His dad was, you know, into music, and Papa was a Rolling Stone more than likely. We've heard that story before. Black American dad story. When you really look at it, Drake's father in the show, Jimmy Brooks' father, he caught his father cheating on him. He actually confronted him about it. His parents were never home. Jimmy Brooks' character actually had a lot of money, and he was kind of like left to fend for himself because his parents were always working.
Mom just called to tell me that her and Dad are working late again. She said I should order myself a pizza.
Well, why don't we have your birthday at my house then?
As you seen in that clip there, he was trying to enjoy his birthday, took his girlfriend home at the time, and there was no parents there. So a lot of that turmoil in Drake's life with the Jimmy Brooks character probably like went together, and he probably didn't really know how to handle it.
Character I play with, Lucius, his life is filled with turmoil. So 90% of the day I'm walking around carrying his turmoil and also the turmoil from me and my own family. How do you have time to really bring yourself back to who you are?
Probably made him a better actor because he was actually going through that in his life, going through an identity crisis, trying to figure out where he fit, trying to figure out who loved him. Think about it. The Jimmy Brooks character has his parents not there. Eventually, he catches his father cheating. His hoop dreams were kind of deflated because somebody lied on him and blamed him for something that he actually didn't do. I ain't gonna lie. If you ain't watched Degrassi a couple of first season, you need to go watch Degrassi first season. Up until Drake got shot, and a little bit after that, that joint was good, bro. That joint was fire. If you start peeling back the layers of the Jimmy Brooks character, you're like, oh wow, Drake might not have been able to shake that character. In order to cope, he created the Drake persona, and it worked. And now he's this mega artist, and he can't really put the ball down and go home. He still has to continue to be on camera, be on stage, be tap dancing. While I was editing this real quick, I was thinking about all the things Drake does in order to maybe relive out his high school years. And I was thinking about him hanging out with Lil Yachty, dating 25-year-olds, and making music with younger artists. You know, a lot of younger artists have been writing for him and things like that. And then I also thought about these basketball tournaments that he holds in his house. You know, they win trophies and win championships. He announces it as if he really won something, and it just screams of a person trying to recreate something or trying to relive something they maybe didn't have as a child. You know, they say the same thing about Michael Jackson and Never Never Land, you know, him creating a amusement park in his house because he didn't have a childhood. And I think the same could maybe be said for Drake when he throws these tournaments in his home, because maybe the Jimmy Brooks character got his hoop dreams deflated, or maybe the Drake character got his hoop dreams deflated, and maybe the real Aubrey Graham got his hoop dreams deflated and never got to experience some of those things that many of us did during our high school years. So it was just something that I just wanted to add in there real quick. But go ahead and get back to the main video. Peace. You know, this is not we should feel sorry for Drake thing, but it's something that I haven't seen. And I think a lot of people didn't really watch Degrassi. Like I said, I went to my cousin's house who had a little bit more paper than me, had them extra channels, because I think you had to watch it on Noggin. You had to have a Noggin channel. And you was a broke boy. You ain't had Noggin. You ain't see Degrassi in America. As a person who went through traumatic experiences in like young, right? When I was 15 years old, around the same time Drake was starting the show, my cousin Nathan Alsbrook was murdered and killed in Harlem, New York City. Noda Kanate. So I went through that traumatic experience. And then 9 months later, I had a kid at 16. We'll talk about that one day. But I went through a lot of trauma during my youth, so I know how it is and how it feels to be stuck there and not be able to grow past it. So when I look at Drake, when I look at his sense of fashion, he doesn't have sense of fashion. He's always following trend. And fashion is not for Drake. I think Drake, his best fashion is when he was about to sign with Adidas and he was wearing like the track pants and he was wearing some of the Yeezys. That's when Drake actually dressed the best. He don't really dress well. Like, he follows these fashion trends like he's in high school. And that happens amongst artists, that happens amongst celebrities, but it's a certain point where like you be like, all right, this fashion sense, this thing right here doesn't fit me. And I don't really want to go into the fact that he likes younger women. That is just a thing. Men with power, that's what they do. That's actually the preferred situation. Young women like older men because they provide security. Older men like young women because they're a little bit more easy to, like, you know, shape to how you want to shape them.
What? Bro, what are you talking about?
I guess that's called grooming. I shouldn't say that. But that's what power does. Powerful people, they date young. That's just what it is. So I don't want to drive into that, but maybe that has an effect too. Maybe he can't find love because he's still heartbroken for what happened when he was in high school. Do you understand what I'm saying as far as child actors going through a lot of trauma? And I think the main trauma child actors go through is that they have to find themselves and they have to find a character. And then once that character is done, I don't think they know who they are anymore. I think Shia LaBeouf is a great example of a person who has no clue who he is and he's just pulling for straws. If you look at Shia LaBeouf's acting career and all the things that he did with the tattoos and all of this method acting that he did, I think he was trying to find himself because he never got an opportunity being Even Stevens. I don't think he's ever been able to know who he was. And I think that is the same for Drake. Like I said, being that young and going through trauma myself, I feel for the kid. I feel for the guy a little bit because it seems as though if you listen to Champagne Poetry, I always go back to Champagne Poetry. He says his career is going up, but his personal life is fading slowly. And that bar just stuck with me because it's some of the best Drake rapping in years. But it just stuck with me because it seems as though he lost a little bit of his soul. That's all I have for today. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell so you can be notified whenever I release a video. And I'm out of here, man. What say you? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Peace.